to do something a little different, because usually I make top 10, top 15 best and worst games played in a year lists. But unfortunately, for those who don't know, my already bad eyesight has deteriorated to the point that it's now like looking through dishwater. Everything is so blurry, colours just fade into each other. So as a result, I barely played any games last year. But yeah, I really wanted to talk about the games that I did play. So I thought I would just bundle them all into one video, starting with worst to best. So yeah, I thought I'd do that and see how that goes. I just didn't want to miss off doing this list. It would have been a lot sooner. I would have done this back at the end of 2021, but unfortunately I caught COVID, which I was lucky to have survived. Thank God for vaccines, I guess. I nearly ended up in the hospital with that. So, yeah, there was no way I was making videos. I could barely breathe. So, yeah. So, here I am. So, we are going to start out at the worst game I played in the whole year, which was easily 12 minutes. Oh, yes. 12 minutes. So, this game, a point and click mystery game, where you're trapped in a time loop featuring stars Daisy Ridley, Willem Dafoe and James McAvoy as the three main characters. And you're supposed to, there's no hand holding in this, which is fine. It's basically, kind of experiment and see where you go. And that would be fine. That would be fine if the characters were, one, well acted, and two, remotely interesting. And secondly, if the story was actually interesting and by the twist at the end didn't make you want to just kill yourself. It's an interesting, like I say, it's an interesting concept. I don't know what it was about 2021 and time loops, but this kind of came in the time in a group of the games that had a similar style, but it was very individual, and it was a top-down viewpoint, and you're clicking everywhere to get these characters to move around. But it just got tedious. I don't think I've ever gotten this angry and frustrated with a game in quite some time. I mean, there's been games I've hated and stuff like that. I didn't hate it because I saw the potential here. The time I finally hated it was the ending. Because the end conclusion to this story, which I will not spoil here, is just awful. And all the lead up, the characterization in the lead up, you're playing as this, I don't even remember the names of the characters. It's just like husband, wife, whoever Willem Dafoe is, the cop. I don't even remember them having names, to be honest. But you play as James McAvoy's character, and he is awful to his wife. He's manipulative. He has no issue in lying to her. And and the only way to progress in some of the time loops is to encourage abuse towards her. You feel so uncomfortable. There's not much I can say. I'll just end up repeating over and over again. And I want to keep this video actually relatively short. I've got like 12 games I think to talk about. So I want to keep it as short as possible. This was just awful. I hated it. It had so much promise. But just, yeah, I got so frustrated with it, and the outcome just was not worth it. So yeah, that was 12 minutes. Kudos to the developers. I think this was an indie game, as so far as, scope, and I think just the big names were roped in to make this a bigger deal. But yeah, no, I'm sorry, but it just did not do it for me. Next up, slightly better, is Battletoads, the remaster of the classic NES game. Now, to be fair, I did not play much of this, which is why I can't really put it higher or lower. From what I experienced, it's a relatively competent beat 'em up. But it feels very, I don't know if it's just the art style or what, but it feels very much like your classic Flash game. Like if you went on Newgrounds or something like that, it felt a lot like that. But it goes for a lot of this meta commentary. Oh, we've been trapped in a hole for 26 years or whatever, and the Battletoads have been forgotten, and they're all old and not relevant anymore, and stuff like that. They'll have to come back. And you're like, okay, it seems funny, and it's trying for that very 90s humour that the original Battletoads, which I played and loved, and as I said at the time when I played it, I also really enjoyed the Battletoads versus Double Dragon game. So, I came into this, yes, I'm older and stuff like that, but I feel like this was doing a very Duke Nukem Forever thing, where it was trying to play the same humour style, the same characteristics as from the 90s, and go, look, they still live in the past, look at them with their 90s terminology, and you're like, okay. It just doesn't feel like it's doing anything to refresh the characters and that. And it goes for these really weird, QTE, South Park, the Stick of Truth style mini games, like where you're rotating the analog sticks to do a massage or something, or stuff like that. It felt very much Stick of Truth minigame style, spaced in between classic brawler segments and of course the OG, the iconic Turbo Tunnel style levels, which are not side on, they're front forward, facing forward. So the blockades are coming at you from the front, and unfortunately with my eyesight I was not able to see where they were coming until it was too late. So that's a mark on me, that's not a mark on the game. I just genuinely didn't get into it, and I was so excited for it when it was first announced. I was like, yes! I just it didn't click with me, and I don't know if that's age for me, age for the game and characters, or what. But yeah, it just didn't work, and yeah, as a result, I don't know. It felt fine. It did genuinely just feel like a Flash game, though. So, if it seemed like your kind of thing, then great. Obviously, if you like any of these games that I don't like, any of the issues, if you don't agree with the issues I mention on this video, then that's absolutely fine. I completely understand. But for me, it didn't make me want to go back and keep trying, if you understand what I mean. So, yeah, that was Battletoads. Next up, we have Visage, or Visage, or however you want to pronounce it, which is a horror game which takes so much effort. I mean, it takes a lot of effort to get through. It takes so much inspiration from the cancelled PT/Silent Hills, demo. And kind of goes with that. Unfortunately, I did not play much of this again. So that's why I feel dubious about putting it too high in case later on I didn't get into it at all. From what I did play, I was totally engrossed. I won't lie. The atmosphere, the sound design had me hooked. It does fall into a lot of the indie horror game tropes. There's a lot of like, ooh, you're in a quiet section, but now there's a loud noise. The grandfather clock is, donging for the hour or something. Ooh, isn't this spooky? Loud noise. It falls into that a lot. There's nothing happening. There's nobody else in the area. You've got some hauntings. There's a lot of reused assets. The groaning you hear of a ghost is I'm pretty sure exactly the sound that is used for, is it Lisa in PT? it's that kind. It's a very similar sound. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that has been ported over to show its inspiration. I genuinely was sucked in. The sound design was really good. I felt tension was really well built up. And like I say, I think if I'd played more, it might have been higher on this list. But from what I've played so far, I did struggle with some of the try to figure out what I was supposed to be doing. This is a game, again, that doesn't particularly well direct you as to what you're supposed to be doing. So I found that a little frustrating. It does not help that the tutorial cards are written in these tiny writing that I then have to zoom in on. It wasn't very helpful for something like when I was doing a video of it. But I am looking forward to going back into this one and experiencing it. And I think it's unfortunately one of those games that when you go replay it, you won't be so scared as much. I genuinely enjoyed it though. It looked nice. It was creepy atmosphere, but just not perfect. And I don't know. I feel like it maybe, as much as its inspiration helped it a lot, it falls short of PT. From what I played, PT was a lot more terrifying, if you want to use that term. I just felt like maybe taking too much from PT hindered it and held it back a little bit. And then you are making those comparisons, if that makes sense. So, I do recommend it. I don't recommend it at full price. This has been quite pricey for quite a while. It goes down in price. It went down in price at Halloween. But otherwise, it's a full price game. And from what I've seen, from what people have said, it's probably worth it. But I don't know. I think maybe wait for it to go to £20 as opposed to the £30 or whatever it was that I paid for it. Next up, we have got oh yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. Oh, for those of you who sat through my playthrough, oh, please take away my suffering. So, I will preface this. I think this game was doomed no matter what. I mean, let's just start by saying it is a beautiful game when it is pre-rendered, when it is the cutscenes. And walking around in the actual location is stunning, especially if your computer is strong enough to run the graphics. For the most part, I had mine on high with low ray tracing settings, but unfortunately the second an animatronic other than the staff bots, which are the biggest issue in this game, I'm sorry. I know everybody else will go on about the glitches and bugs and all that, and that stuff was not my deciding factor on where this game is on this list. But the second an animatronic came on screen, that was it. My frame rate tanked to the point sometimes of being game breaking. I have found out since that the method of programming they used to make sure to take away load screens was to where when you go to a place, it loads it in and then just keeps it loaded. It doesn't delete, it doesn't even minimize it or take it away or anything once you leave. So the longer you're playing, the more memory that's being taken up in your cache, which of course then screws up everything, which I think was causing me frame rate issues because I was playing it for hours on end while making my videos. So by the time I finished a session, I was tanking like crazy. And you would think, oh, you know, it's a PC issue, it's how strong your hardware is and stuff like that. Oh no. Because I'm a glutton for punishment, I had flu after having COVID and chest infection, so I couldn't make videos. So I went and started playing the PS4 version. Don't play the PS4 version. This game runs like ass. I'm not even kidding. Not even when there's nothing happening on the screen, when there are no characters. The frame rate was awful, and you can't change your graphics settings on the PS4 version. It was just unplayable. So I was so grateful when I got back to the PC version. But the problem is, what I was saying before, is that I don't think, I think people would overhype this way too much. But also, we are talking about, 9 main games? And like 15 games in general we are into this series. And yeah, I think it's difficult to know where you go from there, because at some point you're becoming a joke. And this game tries to take itself not too seriously, but while playing into the hands of kids that are playing it, the merchandise buying kids that are playing it. And it tries to, and so much of the story, which I use the term loosely, story, is really based on you knowing the previous 15 games, the however many books there are, the how much side stuff. It's insane, and that's fine if you're into your theorizing and the filling in the gaps and stuff like that. I just wanted to play a game where I could, enjoy it, enjoy the location, and get some story. And you just don't get that. And I would hate to be somebody who's not into the theorist, kind of watching side of things, because I would know nothing what was going on. And the game that was advertised is so different to what we actually got. Vanny, who was such a massive antagonist, featured in the marketing. We'd led up to her in the Help Wanted, the VR game. That was supposed to be her lead-in. We were supposed to be able to see the end of the previous games just be gone, done with, and start a new chapter. But instead, this series cannot let go and ruins it. And what we could have had for a nice new, string of games that are now, taken over by Steelwall. Now the creator Scott Cawthon's cancelled. We could have had a new story and a new direction for where this franchise could go, but instead they had to pull characters back. They had to pull, these nudge nudge wink wink, you know what's going on here points, and you're like, let it die. Just story wise, awful. The actual ending that you get, I was so disappointed and underwhelmed. There were other endings that I found much more satisfying than the actual, big reveal end. It was ridiculous. Gameplay wise as well. It's this whole thing, you're supposed to escape. It's not Five Nights at Freddy's, it's one night at Freddy's. You spend the whole time, the whole idea is that you're going to escape before 6 a.m. because your character Gregory cannot wait around until opening time at 6 a.m. Except all the stuff that you do takes you, because the game doesn't run in real time, certain triggers cause the new time. Because of that, you are doing stuff right up to the doors opening. At which point you're sat there going, why didn't I just go crash in Freddy's room and stay hidden there? Because God knows Vanessa the night guard, the security guard, doesn't remotely wander around. I thought I was going to be going around places and trying to avoid Vanessa, the security guard. She turns up like once in one area. It was stupid. It's an indie team, and I wonder how much scope creep really affected what was going on here with the level designs and stuff. But you are literally going here, and then you go there, and you're going to these amazing, massive, wonderfully realised places in this mall, and then doing sod all there. You collect like a security pass and move on. And you're like, wow, I wish I could go bowling in this bowling alley, or Playing Monty Golf in this mini golf section. There is a arcade machine, but that is separate from all these fully 3D actual courses, and you can't tilt up the camera any further than it like here, so you can't fully look at all the amazing scenery around you when you're on the arcade machine. It's ridiculous. There is so much potential here, and considering it was a small team making it, beautiful. But story and that has all been skimped on. Voice acting, mwah, chef kiss. Oh my god. Kellen Goff, who voiced Funtime Freddy in Sister Location, does an amazing job as Glam Rock Freddy and Sun and Moon. And the other actors do an amazing job as well. But I just don't feel the character. It's a shame because I've talked about this game way too much, not only on my videos but now on this as well. I'm so frustrated with it. I think that's the problem. If I had done this list when I originally intended in December, this actually would have been a lot higher on this list. But because I've completed the game, yeah, that's why it's right down further down in the list. Just, yeah, it's sad because there is so much good work here, but yeah, good voice acting and that, but so many of the lines were cut, and you end up with all of the characters only have, except for obviously Freddy and Gregory, all of the other animatronics have all of like 4 lines. They're just going round constantly. Say Glamrock Chica, she's going around, do you want candy? My parents want me to find you, and stuff like that. And once you've heard it about 1,000 times, it's annoying. And the staff bots that they fully pack each area with, so it's you're barely able to skip them sometimes. Their detection, the radius is ridiculous. Sometimes you can be ages away from them and they'll just go, oh, I found you, and annoyingly call another animatronic. Other times you can walk straight past them with their flashlights pointing at you and be like, sorry, I didn't see you. What was that? Oh, I didn't know. It's so inconsistent. Bad optimization, bad story, but it feels so much was cut. And I feel like there's so much potential that got to a point, and then I assume Sony or whatever were like, no, release this thing already. And then there's just a load of cut content like that you can't access, that's taking up your 80 gig of space on my hard drive. What the hell? Yeah. So I think I've taken up. Basically, this was my list of games I played and Five Nights at Freddy's. Anyway, next up, we have got Ghost of a Tale. Now, this was an interesting concept. A nice little mouse minstrel who is trying to save his wife, I think, or something, from this castle that's run by rats. You know, because rats are always evil in mouse stories and stuff like that. And it's a fun little RPG. You know, you're having to wear certain clothes for certain stats, or you know, use certain things for and it's got a day and night cycle as well, which means you can only do certain missions and approach certain characters to get given missions at certain times of the day. And that would be great, except it started to get a little annoying. And I'll be honest, I've not gone back to the game since making my video. I got a little frustrated with it. I made my video and then I played it for a good while afterwards. And then I stopped and I have not gone back to it since. Because I started to get frustrated with the nighttime, the cycle. And I didn't know where I was supposed to be going, who I was supposed to be talking to at what time or where. And I got a little frustrated, and I don't know, again, if that's me struggling with reading a lot of the documents and the missions and stuff like that. But yeah, I just generally got a little frustrated with, if I'm honest. But it looks amazing. It looks pretty as all hell. And I love your little character. There's just not much I have to say about this. But for an Indiegogo Kickstarter style game, which was, you know, funded by pub people. I don't think it has a massive development team. This game looks pretty, and it's just generally, it is fun, and it's a really good idea, and I liked the story of what I played. I just started to get a little frustrated with it, and as a result, this isn't a bad spot on the list, but I think if I'd enjoyed it more, I would have put it higher. But I just started to get a little bored, if I'm honest. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't have any thoughts either way. Much like, whereas with FNAF, I felt passionate about what I was saying and that. This, I'm just like, it exists. I definitely think it's worth checking out. It's pretty cheap to buy. I recommend it. I think it's one of those games that you have to be in the right mood to play it, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's why I've put it here. Next up, we have Duck Season. Now, technically, I played the Duck Season PC version, as opposed to the VR version, as I don't have a VR rig for my PC. But, so I was playing the standard kind of flat screen version. But this game is genuinely creepy. And I think because it's set in that 80s game rental era with the, you know, the Nintendo system kind of thing, it hit home to me. I never rented games, but, you know, it's still that style, and I think it just felt really, you know, I wasn't a little boy, and I wasn't, you know, but, you know, in a single parenthood or whatever, but it spoke to me on some level. And then you throw in the fact it plays on that idea of people's frustrations at the classic Duck Hunt, which again, I played as a kid, I got frustrated with a kid, and I absolutely hated the dog in. So this game, it plays into that and gives you the opportunity. You're essentially playing this game, so you're this kid playing this game Duck Season, and then it cuts to you actually in the game with the shotgun to shoot the ducks. But it shows this dog at the start. He's like got his back to you, and it turns out he's smoking a cigarette and he stubs it out, kind of thing, and you get the chance to shoot him, which turns out to be not the best idea if you want a good ending. Well, I think you can get a good ending, but you have to be a lot quicker than I was at doing what I did. My biggest issue with this game looks pretty, and I think story-wise it is really compelling. Amazing sound design here. There's a bit at the end in the playthrough that I did where it has this tape, this VHS, the sound from a VHS, just playing over and over again. And there was this underneath that sound from the VHS. It's got this sound that's just building, and you got the sound go, yeah, Duck Season, yeah, Duck Season, and it got creepier and creepier, and it genuinely made me have chills. And I was like, if I was in a VR headset, I would have been shitting myself. It was that genuinely engaging. Just the horror in it was absolute. And when I died, because I failed at the end of my playthrough, again, this is a game I've not gone back to because I've been doing other stuff and that. But I fully intend to go back to get the other endings. But this was a playthrough, like, genuinely, when I died, I was just sat there absolutely shocked and chilled to the bone. That's how engrossed in this game I was. Even though there's no real depth to the kid you're playing as, even though, you know, it's not necessarily obvious without digging deeper to find out the story of the deal with this guy in a dog mascot costume that's trapped in the game, who's then able to escape and killing kids. It's genuinely bone-chilling. There's a VHS that you can put in, or it just comes up, I don't remember, and it's like a POV of this dog approaching some random kid who's playing the game from behind, and then you see this hand reaching out, and again, just the sound design just really builds you up. And then it's just, yeah, it's just, there's so much good horror in this and tension, and unfortunately the actual shooting bits are fun, but as is the issue with this style of game, are repetitive. And I mean, that was what the original Duck Hunt was. And I think having these bits in between is really a good way to keep you wanting to play. But I do feel there are maybe a few too many rounds of the shooting in between incremental story progress. Because I just felt like, oh god, are we going again? And then the version that I played, they've got new modes, so it's not just go shoot the ducks. You've got stuff flying at you that you're supposed to shoot, which again, I was not able to see quick enough to shoot them. There was a severe sight issue with that game. Not only because the ducks were tiny, I wasn't quite clear. I was a bit worried that how it had been formatted to make it, playable for non-VR had, really affected the fake distance. And as a result, that kind of way of playing it, like how much it would let you see. Because and even watching the footage back, there's so much where I'm like, where the hell was that? But yeah, I found the shooting, I just felt went a little on too long. It was fun, and I would love to have done that in VR, where you're actually pumping the shotgun and aiming and stuff like that. That would have been a lot of fun, I can imagine. And it was fun on controller, but yeah, I just felt there were too many rounds of it in between progressing the story. But I genuinely enjoy it. Sound design, just graphics, it's very nice. It's not like super realistic, but it's stylistic, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I definitely recommend, if you're after a horror game that's not full on horror, that's not like, I mean, it was gory at the end, but if you're after just a fun game that builds on tension, I definitely recommend that one. Next up, we've got Resident Evil 8 Village, which is a direct sequel to Biohazard, except, doesn't seem to have capitalised on the benefits of 7, because much like FNAF Security Breach, this game dumbs itself down to appeal to the Twitch, YouTube gaming younger audience, because apparently the developers listened and were led to believe that Resident Evil 7 was too scary. So, as a result, they've made, there's barely any gore in this. You have vampires and werewolves, and there's not that much gore, which is impressive, considering people get, eviscerated and stuff. And the puzzles are so dumbed down, it's ridiculous. You essentially, you don't have to think about where the puzzle pieces are or that. You literally walk down a pathway, the puzzle pieces at the end, and then you walk back to the solution. Ta-da! You know what? If you want a game that is just fun in that kind of turn your brain off kind of way, then this is it. I genuinely had a bit of fun and enjoyed recording, playing it on video. But otherwise, the story is ridiculous. You're following Ethan post Biohazard, which is a big risk all on its own, because I thought Ethan was about as shallow as a puddle, and you're following him as he is trying to save this, well, ginormous baby in my opinion, but he's his daughter, Rose, after Mia is seemingly gunned down. Except she's not really. Spoilers. Yeah, it's... So you're following him, and he encounters this quasi-family thing. They took what was good about, you had this Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque family in 7, and they were like, wow, that was really popular. Let's just do that again, shall we? In a boss rush style story, how to approach each character kind of way. Except this game tries to go, oh, we're open world, etc. It's not. This game is so linear, it's ridiculous. You're led to believe that you can take the bosses on in whichever order you want. You can't. You have one order and that is it. And at least there's more villain types in this game. But you got more types than were in 7, certainly. I enjoyed the Lycans. I enjoyed the soldier, the robot human soldier, corpse soldier things. But they're just, the gunplay is not all that fun. The guns feel very, there's no heft to them. There's no, no kind of, just, they feel very flat. And yeah, it's just, this game was sold on the meme that was Lady Dimitrescu, Mummy Step on Me, who, I won't lie, I went into this game going, yeah, I'm not going to simp over her. There's plenty of other people doing that. Won't lie, she was really intimidating, and maybe alluring is not the right word, but yeah, she gets right up in your face and you're like, I'm sorry, Lady Dimitrescu, I'll do whatever you want. You just can't... She has this character, charisma, she's well voice acted and really well designed. But she's gone after 20 minutes. And then you're left with these other characters, these other baddies, who are just one-dimensional and also very... this game, it takes a lot from Resident Evil 4. Without the heart and soul that made 4 what it was. But at the same time, I feel like it takes a lot from Resident Evil 6. Because it tries to appeal to the widest possible audience by having action, a little bit of survival horror, spooky section where your weapons and everything else is taken away from you. It doesn't set really on one style of atmosphere, which some would say good, but the problem is Resident Evil 4 saw the turn of what had been a survival horror into a more action-based game, and then the series went in that direction going down the line, which they then realised was not the best idea, and that's why they returned to the whole creepy survival thing in number 7. But here they've gone full into the action again, and you're like, this is where it went off the rails last time. And Chris Redfield is here, voiced by the same actor that voiced Carlos in the Resi 3 remake, which is really distracting considering how close together those games were released. He's really distracting as the voice of Chris. I'm just like, wait, that's Carlos. I can't get over it. And Chris, this game would be so short if Chris had just told Ethan what was happening from the beginning. It's ridiculous. The way to stretch out this story is ridiculous. I enjoyed the vendor. I enjoyed the characters, but I did not like Moreau. The treatment of Moreau. He's this disabled, infected character with clearly some kind of learning difficulties, And all he wants is to be accepted by this family, to be seen as a useful part of the unit. He's just trying to show off to Mother Miranda. And he gets absolutely treated like shit as a result. And you're like, okay, just because he's deformed and wants to be loved? Like, why is that such a bad thing? And this game villainizes. It really drove me mad. It villainizes mother love. Apparently, Ethan's fatherly love is the most amazing, pure thing in the world. But apparently a grieving mother who, yeah, fine, she doesn't go about it the right way. She steals your character's daughter. This, that, and the other. Fine. But the treatment of her grief is really a bit sexist, I thought. It just really rubbed me up the wrong way. It is fine as, shut your mind off if you want 10 hours to just mindlessly shoot things and get through. But I felt the story really fell flat. And these beautiful areas, that you could explore, I don't feel they were necessarily utilised to the best that they could have been. And yeah, I just felt like it dumbed down way too much. I felt like it went down the FNAF avenue, and that really annoyed me. I mean, I played this before FNAF, but I think that's probably what annoyed me more about Security Breach. But yeah, it's okay. It's not the worst thing, but yeah, story-wise and that, it's just... And there's a twist at the end. I'm not going to spoil it here, but it is... I mean, it's kind of, we should have known, but at the same time, it makes no sense how nobody found this out at any point. How Chris is completely in the dark about this information is beyond me. So yeah, story-wise, I didn't feel it held up. And yeah, I felt the marketing was geared in the wrong direction. It was bigging up these other things that are actually such a tiny element of the whole, because they're so busy keeping Ethan as this faceless character so you can imprint yourself. He's not on any of the box art or that. It's so silly. It's one thing. I mean, he talks, so clearly he has a little tiny piece of personality. But yeah, no, just I just found it frustrating and underwhelming. But it has its moments, and the kind of mercenary style mode was fun, but yeah. So that was Resident Evil Village 8. Next up, we have got, and I'm going to change it on the fly here from what I originally had listed. But next up, we have got Superliminal. This game actually I'm going to put a little lower because I didn't actually complete it, unlike the game that was originally going to be in this spot. But it is Superliminal is a really fun puzzle game based on perspective. So you have to make things, nearer and farther away to make things either bigger, smaller, or to even make things to use, actually it's a bit like The Witness with some of these puzzles where you line things up to then make an item solid. It's really well done. It does feel very Portal-ish, and it leans on that kind of wit where you have, because it turns out you're at this sleep facility, and you get these tapes where you'll hear this nice, soothing Scottish voice. Really, really kind of... Yeah, I want him to send me to sleep. This wit that's used is really entertaining. But I genuinely found the puzzles really fun. I really want to play more of it video-wise, but my biggest problem with this game is obviously, because of the style of the puzzles, it is very sight-based. And unfortunately there were some things in the environments, etc., that I could not figure out what I was supposed to be looking at, what I was supposed to be doing with what I was looking at. So yeah, that's just something I need to adapt and figure out how to play more. But what I played, I genuinely enjoyed. It's so different. Yeah, it's just a fun puzzle game. If you're after a good puzzle game, I really recommend it. I'm curious how the story goes, where it ends up. You do feel very alone a lot of the time because the tapes are very sparsely spread out. So you've not constantly got a voice with you. Um, but at the same time, that means you're not distracted from focusing on the puzzles. But yeah, I just enjoyed it. I think it's very clever, and I really recommend it as a puzzle game. I'm kind of sad that it's not got a two player, cooperative mode on it. I think it's a good, interesting environment to would be an interesting environment to go through cooperatively, but at the same time, it is, the whole point is that you are isolated and on your own and going through this. So yeah, that's Superliminal. Next up, though, is Little Misfortune. This game I actually completed, and is why I'm putting this higher than Superliminal. But this game, the reason why I was going to put it slightly lower before is because there's actually not that much gameplay to this game. It is very much an interactive story, where you do make some choices that have the tiniest bit of impact, but for the most part, this game lives and dies by its voice acting. You are playing as, you're playing as Little Misfortune, who is brilliantly voiced. I don't know what accent that is, but she's perfectly voiced, and she's been directed by this invisible, unknown force, male character, narrator, in much say the Stanley Parable, very Stanley Parable-esque. She's being guided by this voice, and he takes advantage of her naivety and gullibility and stuff. But I got so many catchphrases from this. Fancy and yikes forever. Yikes forever. I still to this day slip in every now and then. It was just so enjoyable. But you're following her, and my biggest gripe, as I said at the time, was that I felt like it was taking certain shock horror elements. If you're affected by, trigger certain subjects, like, there's at one point she stumbles upon a suicide victim, drugs are mentioned, domestic abuse, and she just throws it away as this very, oh, what's that? She doesn't, she'll say, oh, when mommy was beat by daddy, this and the other, and stuff, and you're like, wow, it's really, it can be triggering. But I felt like it was used for shock value, and then just moved on. And I was sat there going, did that actually serve a purpose? But when I thought about it more, I realised that you're playing as this, 8-year-old character. She sees the world via this, very sheltered... She doesn't understand things. And you're having to remember that as an adult, that actually it's because she doesn't understand that you're then seeing things the way she sees them. But yeah, this game lives and dies by the storytelling and the voice acting, and thankfully they are really entertaining. And yeah, just there's not much I want to say because I really don't want to give too much away. But yeah, it's really enjoyable. Like I say, there are some choices you make. There is gameplay in that you walk around and interact with things. There are some choices that you make. 1 minute you'll be doing a mini game of DDR or something, but if you chose a different path, you'll end up throwing a rock at some drug dealers or something to knock them out to get past them. But mainly this is a story. It's a really enjoyable story. It's by the same people that made Frambo, which I found a little too surreal for my enjoyment. But this I really enjoyed. And genuinely was felt like emotionally drained and like I'd been punched in the gut at the end. So, and for a game that leans quite heavily on the witty banter and the humour, to have that
emotional kick at the end. Just yeah, I genuinely enjoyed it, and I think it's worth checking out if you just like story based games where light casual gaming kind of thing. But yeah, next up we have got yeah, it's Power Wash Simulator. this is this is a game that I never thought I would put this high up on a list. And certainly not a game that I thought I would ever enjoy this much. I genuinely was debating where to put this on the list for the longest time, because I'm not a simulator game fan. But this, I lost so much time in this game. It is so therapeutic. It is so zen. It is so fulfilling to get the pings as you clean shit. It's it's insane. There is not much to tell about this game. There are text messages that give a little bit of story into the world building. But yeah, no, this game, you're given a power wash machine, and you need to clean dirty stuff, which can be anything from vehicles to buildings. Sometimes exceptionally simple, sometimes insanely, frustratingly intricate. Genuinely, there's not much to say. It's just relaxing and rewarding in that dopamine style. Like say you get the dings and you're like, oh, I completed it, I'm done. Yeah, it's simple, it's plain. I know people are going to say, like, a lot of my favourite games that I played are quite simple. I just don't know what to tell you. I never thought I would say this, but this game was just that good. I enjoyed it that much, and I look forward to going back to more. There was a period where they didn't upload any new things to clean for a long time, like a month or two. I was so lost. I needed my fix. It was that bad. Yeah, no, fully enjoy this. If you're after something to just pass the time, to therapeutically maybe get de-stress and stuff like that, or get stressed, as I found at times. It can be repetitive on some maps, but genuinely, I enjoyed it, and there's not much to say. So, yeah, I highly recommend, and I really look forward to seeing what the final product is going to look like. But yeah, that was Power Wash Simulator, which is technically like a tied first place. I had a freeway first place that I was torn with the next two. So yeah, that's why it ended up in like third. But at second place we have The Stanley Parable. You know what? I think if I'd played Ultra Deluxe before making this list, I might have changed my views on it. But I'm basing this on the original 2013 PC game, which it took until the start of last year for me to finally play. I'd played the demo years ago when it was first released. And I really enjoyed it, but I wanted to record me playing the actual game because I enjoyed the demo so much, and I just did not have the technology to do it. But I finally got around to playing it. It is so fun. The branching pathways, and this game is, again, much like Little Misfortune. This game lives and dies by its narrator and the voice acting. And Kevin Brighting, who I just want narrating my life, seriously, is perfect in this role. The times where he's either serious or bored or having a laugh or just making fun of stuff, it is so entertaining. And this game is so witty with its humour, but also with its emotional punches and its thoughtful considerations of gaming, gameplay tropes, and all that kind of thing. It's really thought-provoking on a lot of things. It is simple. You're going through a loop over and over and trying to get different endings. So yeah, it's simple. It's not deep. You're not doing much gameplay-wise. but it is highly entertaining. And I think that's what I came away from, just the enjoyment. And especially as somebody who is now struggling to play much more detailed, very small, or very fast-paced games that I struggle to see. The fact that I was able to enjoy this for its storytelling and that, without getting stressed about not being able to see certain things and that, made it obviously very accessible. And for that, I really appreciate that. The fact that I still got to have the gaming experience and my storytelling experience, and to enjoy both of them at the same time. I really wanted to put this as one. When I tell you what my number one is, I think you'll understand why I flip-flopped on this. But yeah, no, I highly recommend it. And I really, really recommend that. I don't know if I'm going to put this in like next year's list or whatever. I mean, this year's list now. I highly recommend, if you are going to buy the game, if you can, I really recommend picking up the Ultra Deluxe version, probably over the original version, just because of the extra content you get for, similar price, depending on if you get it on sale on Steam or whatever, or pressurized gas. Yeah, I really recommend it, and it's a good laugh for the hours of entertainment that you get. But finally, my favourite game that I played in a year, the best over everything else I played, and I really debated putting this one in the list, but two at top, because essentially this is a mod, but it had to be Portal Reloaded. It just had to be. So, this is a mod for Portal 2, which is my favourite game of all time, and I think if it had been anything less, I wouldn't have put this in this list. And I certainly wouldn't have put it above Stanley Parable. But this game, mod, whatever, is so different from the original game, just in that it adds an extra dimension: time. You've got new levels. I think it's like 25 new test chambers. You've got Harry 101, who does excellent Portal music videos, original music, songs and videos with excellent, animations. I don't know if Harry actually does the animations or what, but yeah, Harry 101 is the voice of the narrator, if you will, the person running the Aperture Science. And you go through these chambers where not only are you doing your normal portal, your blue and orange portals, but you're doing this green door-shaped time portal where you have to make. This game is so, superliminal, you can relatively easily figure out. This, you have to burn so many brain cells. It's amazing. I love it. It's got the same wit and humour as Portal. It feels like it fits right in the lore and, world of Portal. I really, Valve advertised this, on their storefront and that. I assume they've given some kind of blessing. I really wish they would work with this developer to do more in this franchise. But yeah, you have to deal with paradoxical boxes and things like that to press buttons in the past, but then make the box disappear so it stops pressing the button, and etc, etc. This is so deep and well thought out. The puzzles are amazing, and like I say, the fact that it makes you think so much is just, yeah, fine. There's been a lot of Portal and Portal 2 mods that have added other gels and stuff like that. But I just felt like this was the most very well in the universe, the humour, the writing and the test chambers. I genuinely found interesting. Yes, I got frustrated, but that's the point of it, and that's always been the point of Portal. So yeah, it's an odd one. I feel a little odd putting it at the top spot. You know, in the this was the best game I played all year. But I genuinely lost so much time. I really recommend it. If you love Portal, you will love this. Again, I think this would benefit from a cooperative mode. But I just recommend it. If you already own Portal 2, this is a free download if you already own Portal 2. I really recommend it, and I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing more. I hope that this developer does more with these concepts and stuff like that. But yeah, that's that's all the games I played last year, and my thoughts ranking them from worst to best. Like I say, not a lot here. A lot of games that I didn't actually finish due to one reason or the other. But the games that I did play, that I did enjoy, I really enjoyed. And, you know, there was only one that I really hated, and the others were just mediocre. So, yeah, it was a bit of a hodgepodge. But as I said, I think as things deteriorate and stuff, and how I have to adapt with my gaming side of things, I think I got very lucky with what I was able to play. But yeah, thanks for watching this video, guys. I know I blathered on. I know it wasn't the normal kind of thing, but this is how I've got to adapt now. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Please share your thoughts, especially go back and check out the videos I made last year if you get the chance to check out some of these games. If you're still on the fence just from the little snippets I've shown here. Please share your thoughts on the games if you've seen or played them. And yeah, I look forward to seeing what happens this year. But for now, guys, please take care, and I'll see you somewhere down the line.